So I was at dinner yesterday with my friend who I hadn't seen quite some time, in a couple months, and we were talking, and she brought up a point in the conversation where she wanted to kind of was thinking about starting a blog, right, or whatever, but she ended up not doing it. And I asked, like, why didn't you want to start? You're clearly passionate about the subject that she was into. Why didn't you go ahead with, just starting a blog? And the two things that she said to me was, number one, am I even good enough to be writing a blog? And then number two, but then who's gonna look at these posts? Who's gonna interact? Who's gonna even care to hear what I have to say? And I've heard this from so many people. Like, honestly, I can't stress this enough. I think I heard those two phrases in the same week by two different people. So the amount of times I come across this, and I always hear about this, and it's typically people who are kind of younger, so in their 20s, that I normally hear this from. I haven't really spoken to anyone older than 20 on this subject, but over than 30 on this subject, but I always hear this. I always hear the why. Like, why would anyone want to listen to me? And I'm not even good enough to be writing blogs, or I'm not even good enough to post a YouTube video, or I'm not even good enough to, start something that I really enjoy. And honestly, it's not the fact that you're not good enough, and it's not the fact that people won't care. It's just where your priorities lie and how much you want to commit to something. Because unfortunately, in this day and age, a lot of people have untapped potential, in my opinion. I see, especially in some of my friends, I see so much potential in what they say they want to go and do. I mean, when someone who's very passionate about a topic and says that they want to go ahead and make this out of this subject, I just look at them and I'm like, wow, you really can do that, because you really have the drive and the passion to go ahead and execute that plan. But the number of people that actually execute that plan is incredibly small, and that's the problem. So the problem isn't who's going to look at my content, who's going to hear, who's going to like what I want to say, what I have to say, who's going to engage, am I even going to... That's not the problem. The problem is, why am I not doing this frequently? Why am I not getting better at this every single time? So honestly, I firmly believe, and I'm not there yet, but I want to make this statement where this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick by this. And I believe, like, when it works, then I trust it because the number one way you can get good at something is to consistently do that and innovate. That's the two factors. Be consistent and be ready to innovate, because you have to have both. You can't have one. You can't just innovate but not be consistent. You can't just post a good piece of content or whatever. It doesn't have to even be content. It can be like a business idea. It doesn't really matter, right? You can't do that something without consistency, but then you can't just have consistency, because it will just limit you, because you have to be consistent, but you have to get better at that thing each time. You've got to find solutions, you've got to adapt, you've got to innovate to get ahead. And that's the thing, like, and the thing there, both things require effort, obviously, and concentration and focus and discipline. And yeah, I mean, it's just where you want to prioritize things. And I understand, like, I fully get it. It's not for everyone, because a lot of people just want to go to their 9 to 5, come home, relax and chill, and that's fine. Like, I'm not slating that whatsoever. I think that's fine. Like, you can do that, but you can't expect other things. Like, you can't look at someone and be like, oh wow, that person's got it easy because they're doing this, but you don't know how much they've probably put the work in, the sacrifices to get there. And that's what I want to really make clear. Like, if you have a specific goal, if you have a specific dream, then you have to actually act upon it. You can't just stay on the sideline questioning, why am I'm not good enough for this, who's going to look into my content? You can't just do that, because what's going to happen if you just say that, and if you affirm, first of all, you're saying that in your mind, and if you're saying that out loud as well, you're just affirming to yourself that that's not possible. Your brain feeds off information on a loop, right? And if you think about this, and if that's the key barrier to your execution of that plan, then you're not gonna do it, because in your mind already you're like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, because you've affirmed it to yourself. You have to be positive. You have to really, truly, deep down to your core, you have to believe that this is going to work. You have to really believe that. Like, it all stems from that inner belief, because that kind of carries the motivation, that drive, even through dark days when you're like, oh man, when you have doubts, that will just eliminate, because you truly believe. There's nothing attached to it. It's just complete and utter realization of that's going to happen, and that is what you have to affirm to yourself. And obviously you can affirm as much as you want, but you have to act on it. You have to take action, and the taking action part is to be consistent and to innovate. That's it. Like, honestly, it's not like a complicated process. The process isn't complicated. It's just the effort that is required to get there, right? That is it. Like, so I really want to kind of bring to your attention as well. Like, if you honestly have something that you really like to do, that you really want to do, and that you can see yourself in the future doing, but you're questioning, am I good enough? Well, you won't ever know until you try, and you can't try it once, twice, or even 10 times, because you haven't been consistent enough, and you haven't innovated enough there to see progression in yourself, right? So the idea is, if you've really, that's the thing. If your heart is not truly in that, then it's best to just leave it. But if your belief system, if your mind and your heart is 100% fully committed to that, even if you feel like you're not ready at this stage, that's fine. But as long as you have the belief that future you will be in that position, then you have nothing to worry about. Then just keep going. That is what I just want to say. Like, I feel like a lot of people our age group, if you have a goal, it's just being there, just being present, just knowing what you want and doing the best you can to go get that. Consistency and constantly innovate.